sorghum crop looks really good and should give a bountiful harvest this season. This crop looks really well maintained. What's the secret?
I'm growing a new sorghum variety called IS 9830, which gives me a reliable and good yield. I'm happy about it. Previously, I used to grow local varieties which we just picked from our other farms and planted, which gives us very poor yield.
We'll learn about the benefits of IS 9830 a little later. But why were the yields previously so poor?
Before I started growing IS 9830, I used to plant local varieties, which I saw a lot of striga in my farm. And then I had low yield.
What is striga and what is its relationship with sorghum?
This is striga, a weed that really likes sorghum. It is also seen in maize and rice farms. When you have this weed, it is bad news because you will not have a good harvest.
Striga is commonly known as witchweed because of its devastating effects. Striga is a wicked enemy that you can only see when it's often too late.
Striga is a parasitic plant. When it germinates, it attaches itself to the roots of the host plant. Then it sucks the water and the nutrients from the plant, weakening it, thus reducing on the production yield. Striga can only be seen when it's above the ground, but by that time, already the havoc has been done.
Striga causes high yield losses, but there are solutions. Different organisations have worked on ways to combat the effects of striga.
A lot of local popular varieties of sorghum, for example, chuti, are easily infected by striga, and this we call susceptible varieties. But we have identified and bred some sorghum varieties that are able to withstand striga infestation, and this we call resistant varieties. For example, the variety that Stella plants, IS 9830, as well as another variety called SRN39 are striga-resistant varieties. So here you see a local variety of sorghum called Ochuti that is susceptible. It has a lot of striga infestation. And then just in the next plot, you see a highly resistant variety of sorghum called SRN39 and virtually no striga.
So promising. Tested solutions are available. But where do we get them from?
I learned about striga-resistant sorghum varieties at Farmer Field Day at KALRO. I saw different sorghum varieties that had less striga and better yield than the local ones we normally use. I got some seeds from one of the varieties I liked from KALRO.
So farmer field days are good occasions to learn about new technologies. Certified good quality seed can be attained from local research organisations like KALRO in Kenya or from local agro-vet shops.
Next season, I want to plant a striga-resistant variety so that I can have a good harvest.
We have learned that resistant varieties can help in avoiding high yield losses because of striga, but the long-term resistant varieties alone will not be sufficient. Let's hear more about this.
Striga is a serious problem to solve. One solution alone is not enough. A combination of solutions that are compatible can solve the problem. A resistant variety is a good start and together can be combined with fertilizer.
We have learned two new things. A combination of striga control technologies is most effective, and fertilizers help against striga too. Let's hear more about these fertilizer techniques.
I used to have a lot of striga and very little grain. In the past, I used to harvest 1 bag, but now I can harvest more than 7 bags. I learned that applying fertilizer is very important. I applied NPK on the soil and then apply liquid fertilizer on the leaves. Since I did that, I got a lot of grains and very little striga.
We recommend farmers to use fertilizers that are rich in nitrogen and phosphorus. For instance, NPK and ammonium phosphate, that is DAP. These nutrients help in the reduction of striga and also help in the plant growth and production. Application of micronutrients fertilizer on the leaves help in the reduction of Striga infection further. In these experiments at KALRO, we are demonstrating these effects. This is a susceptible variety of sorghum called Chuti without fertilizer. Can you see how heavily this crop is affected by Striga? And here in the neighboring plots is the same variety, but with fertilizer. These plants received NPK in the soils and micronutrients on the leaves. And see, there's hardly any Striga.
By applying fertilizers, the Striga can be controlled. You should apply about 25 kg of nitrogen per acre or 60 kg per hectare, and about half or 1/3 of that of phosphorus. To work that out, look at the fertilizer bag for information. The NPK composition of this fertilizer, for example, is 16-29-2, meaning 16% of nitrogen N, 29% of phosphate P, and 2% potassium oxide K2O. NPK fertilizers often come in 50 kg bags, however in various forms and compositions, which sometimes require some calculations. See at the end of the video where we share some examples of these calculations.
You best apply half of the NPK or DAP fertilizer at planting, and the other half with urea somewhere mid-season. The best results can be obtained when you also supply the crop with micronutrients, sometimes called trace elements.
Micronutrients or trace elements are best applied to the leaves in the form of foliar fertilizers. Follow the instructions on the label of the bottle of your foliar fertilizer. For this product, the recommendation is 1 to 2 applications of 2 to 3 litres per hectare. You can take 2.5 litres per hectare per application. You can do the first application around 4 weeks after sowing and the second one 4 weeks later. 1 hectare is about 2.5 acres. So if your field is 1 acre, divide these recommendations by 2.5. So then you apply 1 litre of the product at each application time. You best dilute the product in ample water. For instance, 4 times 250 millilitres of product per tank filling, which in our case is 20 litres. You can use a measuring cap from the agro-vet shop to measure the product for each tank filling. Good advice, but this seems quite a lot of products to buy. Is it not too expensive? Let's hear more about this.
I couldn't afford as much fertilizer as recommended, so I had to use DAP, which was a bit cheaper. For the foliar fertilizer, I was lucky because I could use with my neighbors. He sold me 1 litre, for this I could afford, and I was happy.
Indeed, the recommendation made by KALRO and extensions may be the optimal rates, but if you can't afford these amount of fertilizers, you can just adjust this. Also, sharing products with neighbours may save you from having to buy a whole bottle or a whole bag of product at once. But how exactly should the fertilizers be applied?
You need to apply the fertilizer homogeneously and only where you have sown the crop. The better you adjust your application to where the crop is, the less of the fertilizer you actually need. You can use a small measuring unit, like a cup of soda bottle, and apply 1 cup of fertilizer to each plant pocket at sowing, and again to each plant at the second time of application. Another way of doing it homogeneously is to divide your field and fertilizer in smaller but equal bits. This makes application easier. When you apply foliar fertilizer, you can apply using the same strategy. For instance, you divide your field into 4 quarters. Then apply 1 quarter of fertilizer to it.
You may do a test run with only water, no fertilizer, to find out how much of your field you can treat with 1 tank filling of 20 litres, while applying it carefully to the leaves of each plant.
I borrowed a knapsack sprayer from my neighbor. Before use, I clean it to remove any remaining pesticides. I fill the tank with clean water to check the nozzle. I then tried to spray on my crop just with water.
When applying the foliar fertilizer, walk slowly and make sure you spray the fertilizer on as many of the leaves of each plant as possible. Target the spray to the crop leaves only and spray about 20 to 30 centimeters distance from the plant canopy. Make sure you apply the foliar fertilizers in the late afternoon when the sun is not at its highest to avoid leaf burns. Do not apply when you expect rain, as it will wash away the fertilizers. Also, don't worry about protective gear, as these products are not toxic and are also applied with lots of water, so the concentration is quite low. Remember that you get the best results when you combine Striga control technologies. So if you can, combine a resistant sorghum variety with these fertilizer solutions. You can also intercrop or rotate your sorghum with another crop that is not a cereal crop. Legumes like pulses or groundnut work very well as additional Striga control.
In addition to resistant varieties and fertilizer, we recommend farmers to use legume crops like cowpea, sesame or groundnuts as an intercrop or in rotation. This provides extra protection against Striga.
To summarize, Striga is a parasitic weed that destroys your sorghum crop. If you don't do anything, you will get more and more of this weed and less of your crop. Control Striga by combining different techniques. You can use a Striga-resistant sorghum variety, for instance IS9830, Fremida, or Serena. You can combine this with NPK or DAP fertilizers. A balanced fertilizer application requires 4 units of NPK or DAP and 1 unit of urea fertilizer per acre. For instance, 4 25 kg bags of NPK or DAP fertilizer and 1 25 kg of urea fertilizer per acre. Apply these in 2 splits, 1 application at sowing in the sowing pocket or row and 1 before sorghum flowering near the sorghum plants. You can get even better results by also applying micronutrients. These micronutrient fertilizers can be sprayed on the leaves of your crop. This is called foliar fertilizer. Check the label on the bottle to see how much foliar fertilizer you need to apply and how often. You can do the first application when your crop is about 4 weeks old and the second application 4 weeks later or at the start of the sorghum flowering. Apply carefully to as many leaves as possible of each plant. You can dilute 1/4 liter of the foliar fertilizer in a 20-liter knapsack sprayer tank and apply that till the solution is finished. Then make a new solution and resume where you ended the previous application. Apply in the late afternoon and avoid rainstorms. If you cannot afford applying the recommended fertilizer quantities, just try and apply as much as you can. In addition to resistant varieties and fertilizers, you can rotate or intercrop your sorghum with pulses or groundnuts. Combining different Striga control options will give you less Striga and more grains. NPK fertilizers come in various forms and compositions and require some calculations. For instance, the information on this bag shows the NPK composition is 23-23-0, meaning 23% nitrogen N, 23% phosphate P, or 0% potassium or K. 100 kg of this fertilizer contains 23 kg of nitrogen N, 23 kg of phosphate, which is around 10 kg of P, phosphorus, because phosphate contains around 44% of phosphorus. To get near to the required 25 kg of N per acre, you would need to apply 100 kg, hence 2 times a 50 kg bag of NPK fertilizer per acre. This way, you would apply 10 kg of P per acre, which would be okay. The other NPK fertilizer for sale in this AgroV shop shows a different composition. 100 kg of this fertilizer contains 16 kg of nitrogen, 29 kg of phosphate, and 2 kg of potassium. 29 kg phosphate is about 12.5 kg of P. One bag contains half of that, hence 8 kg of N and 6.25 kg of P. To get near the required 25 kg of N per acre, you would need to apply 150 kg, hence 3 times a 50 kg bag of NPK fertilizer per acre. This way you would apply 3 times 6.25 kg, hence 18.75 kg of P per acre, which would be on the high side. Here, a solution would be to apply a part of the required N through NPK and part through urea fertiliser, which contains 46% of N. For instance, 2 bags of NPK supplies the crop with 16 kg of nitrogen and 12.5 kg of phosphorus. 25 kg of urea, hence half a 50 kg bag, supplies the crop with 11.5 kg of nitrogen. Together, this gives your crop 27.5 kg of N, which is around the recommended rate per acre and 3 times the quantity of applied P. If you have DAP instead of NPK, you may apply 40 kg DAP per acre, or 100 kg per hectare, and 40 kg of urea per acre. DAP contains 18% N and 20% P, hence 40 kg contains 8 kg of P and around 7 kg of N. You then add around 18 kg of N through the 40 kg of urea, giving the crop the required 20 kg of N and a third of that of P. Measured per hectare, this is 2 bags of DAP and 2 bags of urea. For more information, contact your local Agrovet stores.